about it being a precarious global environment. Doesn't that put a requirement on national leaders to gather all the facts before they make significant pronouncements? Did you overplay your hand yesterday, and do you risk insulting the Indonesians? You're suggesting that the President must have had knowledge of any comment that was given to this publication. Was that an overreach? Do you risk damaging the relationship with Indonesia?
Look, when we've got a weak Prime Minister here in Australia who rips $80 billion out of defence, when you've got a Foreign Minister who is out of her depth despite having more front than Maya, the fact is that when you have a Foreign Minister and a Defence Minister and a Prime Minister finding out about decisions from our friends and from countries abroad, when they find out about that on CNN or on Fox or whatever it is, you know that this government is not up to it. And that's why Australians realise that, yes, we do live in a precarious period. And if we want to have strong relationships, we need to have open discussions, and we need to make sure that the government is given forewarning. That hasn't happened here. So there are a lot of details that I hope that we can get out of the briefing. The government has delayed the briefing, obviously, and we'll hopefully get that briefing today. But you've got a Prime Minister here, as he's demonstrated. I mean, how on earth can the Prime Minister of our country only find out about the activities in relation to the naval ships that have circumnavigated our country from a Virgin pilot? How can the Foreign Minister not have had a phone call from her counterpart in the United States to say that tariffs were coming? This is a government that's been out of its depth in relation to international relations, and I think they've demonstrated it in the defence space as well. The relationship between Indonesia and Russia is closer. We know that. And we want to work very closely with Indonesia, continue that relationship, because we don't want a presence of Russian assets in our region. It would be difficult for us, it would be difficult for other Asian nations, and that's not something that we should just sit idly by and pretend is not part of a discussion. Hang on, we'll come here first. Yeah.
You said it came directly from the Indonesian government. Do you concede now that that was incorrect?
I dealt with that a second ago.
Mr. Dutton, you said at the Lowy Institute earlier this year that you'd visit the US as your first foreign visit if you were elected as Prime Minister. Will you now go to Jakarta, as has been convention, to repair the relationship there?
We have a very strong relationship with Jakarta, and I've known successive ministers and presidents. I've met both the current president and his immediate predecessor on a number of occasions. We have an excellent relationship with Indonesia. A number of ministers in the foreign affairs space as well as in the national security space. So I have an excellent relationship with many nations in the region, but there's a lot of damage that this government's done in relation to our international standing. That much is obvious. When you have significant events taking place that impact upon Australia, and the Australian government having no clue about it, you know the Prime Minister is out of his depth. So we've said what our plans would be if we're successful at the election, and that stands. I'll come across here.
Mr. Dutton, under the last coalition government, you only found out about the secret security pact with China after the fact, and now you're saying that you don't want to co-host COP31 with Pacific nations, which is their #1 concern. Are you risking Australia's national security by losing the trust of Pacific nations and pushing them towards China?
Well, I was part of a government who provided vaccines to Pacific Island nations, and when you speak to each of those leaders, as they've done since COVID, they were unbelievably grateful for the support that we provided. The logistics that we provided came out of my department, and we worked very closely with our neighbours, and we met their need in a way that China or no other country was able to. So I think if you have a look at the facts are that when we were in government, we were a great partner with many countries, including some that you've referred to. When Penny Wong applies a test and then she fails to meet that test herself, I think the questions really are of her. Now, I missed one here, sorry, and then we'll come back. Yeah.
And you have been asked this several times, but clearly we need a bit more clarity. Right. Do you concede it was a mistake to say that the Indonesian president had confirmed those reports?
I made the point earlier in relation to the reference that I made, and I think I've been clear in relation to it.
Sorry, and what was that answer then?
We'll come
because
back.
we've clearly we're all trying to get asked the same question, and we just want to clarify your answer.
Yeah, no,
I
provided that response to that exact question a minute ago.
And what was your clarity on that? Provide more clarity on your response.